I'm on the
Oh,
white.
oh my gosh.
Oh god.
Hey, everybody.
How's
Hello.
it going? How are all of you doing?
So Dan is not mic'd up, but he's off screen.
I'm Dan.
You're playing the part of Dan today is our good friend Patrick Bramble.
How are all of you doing?
If you've been a customer of the store for a long time, you probably recognize old Bramble B here. But he's. Am I correct? Did I remember this correctly? Is it your birthday today?
It is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday!
21 around the sun.
Wow. So everybody, when you're watching this in the future, just wish Bramble a happy birthday, no matter what day it is.
Thank you, all of you.
But we're excited to have you on the stream because there's a couple of books coming out that I know you're excited for.
Very.
And so I got tired of talking to Dan about stuff because Dan doesn't know anything about
I
anything.
get tired of looking at Dan.
No, that seems a little unfair, but
That's perfectly fair.
So if you're not familiar, I'm sure you're familiar with the stream because I'm sure you've watched every episode that we've done.
Everyone twice.
Wow, that's commitment. We're very pleased to hear that.
Yep.
But yeah, we're just gonna go through some of the books that release tomorrow, and just kind of show them off. Dan is gonna. I'm still gonna need you to work the camera, Dan. I know.
Just Dan.
I know Dan's not on screen, so he doesn't care what's happening with the show.
All right, hold on.
So no facsimiles this week, but we actually have it's a pretty small stack, but there's some big important books, I guess you could say, that come out today. So
they're all very small in size, but big in impact.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Man, you're a natural at this.
The camera loves me. I watched some Better Call Saul before I came here. I'm a
showman. Oh my gosh, hit somebody! Yay, no facsimile. Oh boo! You're breaking my heart.
Is this on Twitch?
Yeah, it's on Twitch.
Oh, nice.
We're live on Twitch, live right now. So I hope you tweeted at all of your followers to tell them to come.
I did not. I didn't know we were. I thought this was Facebook Live.
That's okay. That's okay. I talked about this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Usagi Yojimbo comic as it was coming out, and nice collected edition is out. Oh, check out that cool cover by Kevin Eastman. That is nice. But just highlighting this. I talked about this extensively. I really like this comic. The Turtles are just great. Usagi is great. They both work really well as true all ages comics, which I mean are like suitable for literally all ages. They're not just like for kids. Like I think adults and kids can enjoy this on the same level, and that's something that's really rare in a lot of comic books.
Did Stan Sakai have anything to do with this?
He wrote and drew it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you said Kevin Eastman.
So Eastman did that variant cover that I showed.
Okay,
that's an Eastman. So they got all the covers included in this collection. But yeah, this book is so cool. I love Stan Sakai. I love his cartooning. I love the way he draws the turtles too. It has like the classic.
It looks like how Kevin Eastman draws them, but they're very dynamic.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a fun crossover. There's the Kevin Eastman cover there where the turtles, because they've crossed over several times, and it's always been through like weird magic or time travel where the turtles just end up in Usagi Yojimbo's time. And this one is like time travel. Like the turtles just accidentally travel back in time.
You've mentioned it before, and I've forgotten because it's been a while. I've never read any Usagi. Where would you say is the best point to start? Because I know it's a little tricky.
That's a fair question because it's such a huge series. Like it's been going since the early 80s, and it's basically just been Stan Sakai's baby. Like he's just been writing and drawing it for, I think 40 years now. The neat thing about Usagi is I think you can just start literally anywhere. Like ideally the beginning of a story arc. I think now there was a period where the book was just coming out as issues and it ran for so many hundreds of issues, and now it's just being put out as a series of miniseries. So it's like every month it's like part 1 of 4, and then
Cool.
When that's up, then it's a new story arc, part 1 of 4. And the collected volumes are really good. I think Dark Horse has been putting out these omnibus books, and so you can always start at number 1. Like I do think like a lot of long running manga series, like you can just start at 1 if you want the whole series. But what makes Usagi so great is it's kind of just designed to be this long story of just Usagi, and he just gets into different, like there's different eras of the continuity where like sometimes he's working.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sometimes he's working for a feudal lord like his bodyguard, other times he's a wandering ronin. But you can pretty much just pick it up anywhere and go. The storytelling is really concise. So anytime there is a reference to like past stuff, it's always pretty explained, or even shown in a flashback. I think that's what.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I like. It feels more like classic comic books where you can just kind of jump in anywhere and any relevant information is a part of the story and it's explained. And you don't feel like you have to have read all previous like 200 issues to get what's going on in the current story. So yeah, again, it's one of my favorite comics. I absolutely love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pick up Usagi Yojimbo at
Yeah, that's
Fantasy
right.
Books and Games.
This is the one and only. All right, let's talk about a few other books that are coming out tomorrow. I haven't had a chance to read this, but Batman Beyond, new miniseries. This is one that's based off the animated series continuity.
Okay.
I love DC's animated series. Their cartoons. I think it's kind of the wisdom now. Everybody says that DC's animation department is perfect and Marvel's animation department is terrible, and DC's movie department is terrible and Marvel's movie department is perfect. Now that doesn't quite hold true much.
I think it's
these
in the
days.
middle now.
Yeah, it's kind of
on
they
both
have kind of
ends.
met in the middle, I think, a little bit. But I really love the Batman series and Batman Beyond a lot, so I'm looking forward to reading this. I like that they do these comic books that are like tie-ins to the
Yeah.
animated series continuity.
I need to read the Superman Adventures.
Oh yeah, that one's
lines
really
from
good. And that one has
30
like
years ago.
I think the other neat thing so this series is I'm not familiar with. I mean Rick Burchett, he's the artist on the Batman animated series. Well, he's one of the artists that has worked on it. So he's a guy who's a part of the animated series comics, but I'm not familiar with Hilary J. Bader, the writer. But a lot of these like DC's animated series tie-in comic books have had really great creators working on them. Like
Mark Miller.
Mark Miller
got
did
his
some of
big
the
start,
Superman
like,
stuff. Yeah. So it's really good stuff.
I love a lot of these ads. They're
Yeah.
very 90s and like set in the time. And
So-
also the cover.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't notice that until you said that. But like, because one of the things I think
WB for kids.
yeah, right. I've talked about this I think a few times on the stream, especially with regards to the facsimile books that Marvel and DC put out, and you flip through like these old books from the 70s and they have advertisements in them. But if you flip through newer books, like more modern comic books, ads have almost entirely disappeared from comic books, like the monthly comic book especially, just because nobody's running ads in comic books anymore. So it's funny that you mention that because it does kind of make it look like an older book by having more ads than normal, I think.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I do
Wizard
too.
Magazine.
Yeah. It does.
Get your pulls in through Wizard.
I actually now I feel really stupid. I wonder if this is a facsimile book. It is. You heard it here, folks. It's a facsimile. That explains why I didn't hear that this was coming out. This is a reprint of the original Batman Beyond. I told you I was disappointed that we didn't have any facsimiles. Boom, there it is, facsimile. Oh man. So Dan, I'm gonna need you to edit out this entire section of the podcast where I look like an idiot.
It's a stream, not a podcast.
Dang it! Can you edit that out too?
What are you, 40?
Something like that. Yeah. That is funny. I'm speechless.
What can I say?
Man, this is why did we bring you on this stream? Another book coming out tomorrow that I'm excited about, Kea. You know, I like this comic a lot. Haven't had a chance to read this issue, but it is good fun. Just like to remind everybody that it's out there and you should be supporting it. Wes Craig.
Never heard of this.
It's a post-apocalyptic comic. Kind of it's not specifically post-apocalyptic. It's kind of fantasy, but it takes place in like a weird fantasy where there's like technology and just kind of a little bit of everything. It reminds me a little bit of Samurai Jack, where there's just monsters, there's mutants, there's robots, it's like barbarian fantasy with sci-fi going on. There's lizard clans, there's robot conquerors. Yeah, it's really good. Main character is a young woman, and she's trying to a little girl. I don't know. She's supposed to be like a preteen, I think, but she's got a younger brother who's the prophesied. Susie has a good question for you, Bramble. Are you gonna buy all of your pull with your birthday money?
Hey, can we get this person blocked
we need
the
to
stream?
need to block
I don't
Susie.
know who they are. That's a very personal question. But to answer, no, I'm not.
But anyway, Kea is a good book, and I always highly recommend it when it comes out. Jeff Lemire, Fish Flies. This is
Love that
issue
guy.
4. Yeah,
A fellow Canuck.
yeah. Oh man, are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about you being Canadian.
Yep.
You did. Didn't they just kick you out of the country?
Don't worry about it. We're on
Okay,
the stream,
all right.
the comic book stream. It's all positive.
So I've been enjoying Fish Flies.
Just like a comment.
Did you read any of this one, Patrick?
I have fallen long behind Fish Flies. I was reading it when it was coming out on Jeff Lemire's Substack, and I
Mhm.
really liked it. I love Jeff's art, and I remember a lot of the process he was talking about it was really cool and how it like evolved from his earlier work and this one. And I remember he said, I don't know if you've talked about this on the stream at all,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember when it was coming out, and he had just gotten off. I think it was Royal City, which he was writing, drawing, lettering. I think lettering. But it was all fully painted, fully colored, and that burned him out. And I remember how excited he was for Fish Flies at the time
Mm-hmm.
because it was very limited in palette, which
Yeah.
made it much more exciting for him to do. Like I said, I think the last time I read it, a piece, because it was coming out on a Substack, was 2021. I want
Mhm.
to say I just fell behind. I did.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
it
was
happens.
really liking it. I love a lot of Jeff's stuff, and I was really liking. So pick up
Yeah.
Fish Flies.
Flip Flies.
Flip Flies.
It is good. I'm like I'm pretty. I find Jeff Lemire is pretty hit or miss for me sometimes. I don't always love his work, but I respect him a lot as a creator. I think he's a good creator, and I have really enjoyed the artistic style of Fish Flies, the limited palette.
Mhm.
Like I think it works really well.
I love whenever there's like everything is very muted, but there's
Mhm.
always a very like strong primary color that's very
Yes,
pigmented,
and
very
you see that with the girl's
saturated,
jacket,
yes.
like being all red. Give me a shot here, Dan. Let me show off this page. Like,
Sorry, I'm
it-
troubleshooting the stream live.
oh my gosh!
It's not so good right now.
Oh no!
is it?
Yeah,
It's
I
really
see that.
choppy.
Oh,
That. So, I don't know. Try to fix it.
It's
Oh,
that
the Bramble curse.
It's the Canadian curse. Well, another book that comes out tomorrow that I think is worth checking out: Petrolhead, issue 3. Have you seen anything about this comic, Bramble?
The only thing about Petrolhead is me when I eat too many beans.
Oh man! I guess somebody had to make that joke eventually.
No, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this.
It's a pretty cool comic. I love the colors a lot. Like the art in it is really good, but I really like the colors. This one is more of a straight up cyberpunk dystopian setting where the main character is this robot who is kind of illegal because he runs on like diesel, and there's
Mm,
this whole thing of
expensive.
yeah, and there's this whole thing of like these underground street races, and they live in domed cities because the world is completely polluted and unlivable, and somebody figured out they found some super technology invention that can save everybody, and now the all-powerful government is chasing them for unknown reasons, but it's pretty cool. It looks really good, and as we've said before many times, like 80% of what makes a comic good is just having really, really good art.
It's a visual medium.
It's a visual medium, right? And no matter how cool of your idea or characters, if you don't have eye-popping art or like a cool design or just something unique about the art, I think it's just gonna get missed. It's gonna fall flat. This is a cool looking book.
Who is the colorist on this? Because the colors
That's-
really stick out to me.
That's a good question. So the art, letters, graphic design, all by Pi Par. So I'm not
Oh.
familiar. I'm not familiar with this creator at all, but apparently it's a one-man art department, which is pretty great
That
because it
I'm
looks
definitely gonna probably check them out.
yeah,
like,
it
after this.
looks really good. I like the art a lot. Another book in the cyberpunk genre is Subgenre, coincidentally. Now, we were just talking about Jeff Lemire, and I said he's kind of hit or miss for me. He's kind of similar to this creator, Matt Kent, who I think you're familiar with Matt Kent.
I know
yes.
of him.
Okay, see, part of the reason I think Jeff Lemire is like hit or miss for me is because I already discovered Matt Kent, and I think they have kind of a similar vibe with some of the stuff they do. Their stories are different, but artistically, like with the wash and the watercolors, there's some crossover.
Mhm.
This series is not drawn by Matt Kent though, but this is we talked about this I think when issue 2 came out last month. I really like this comic a lot. It's kind of trippy. The main character is like a detective in a like a Blade Runner-esque cyberpunk.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, yes, very much like a Ryan Gosling. But he keeps having these like memories and fantasies of being like in a barbarian world,
Okay.
and then he like gets knocked out and he wakes up and he's in the barbarian world and he's like a different character, and it's difficult to tell which one is real and which one is the dream,
Mhm.
which is very cyberpunk, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But like everything has like a 1-1 equivalent, like he's in the cyberpunk world, he's got like digital programs downloaded into his brain that alter the way like things that he sees, and then in the fantasy world it's like a magic potion and a fairy, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's like
Really
they're
playing with those genres.
exactly, it's playing with the genres,
The
and then
tropes.
yeah, exactly, it's really cool, really good book. It's also printed at this oversized format that makes it difficult to collect. I go back and forth with it because I love oversized art. I like being able to see the art at a large. Oh, somebody says hello to the guest host,
Oh, who?
Serena.
I don't know Serena.
S-
Hi, Serena.
There you go. She's our biggest fan. But yeah, I love bigger comics. Like I love collecting like Treasury Edition books when they put those out. But it sometimes it's a pain when you get them as issues, and they're really hard to like put it in bag and board and preserve and organize. But you know, that's just me being.
Yeah.
I'm very touchy about how my collection looks.
I have to have a separate box for my oversized books.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't like it, but whatever.
It is what it is.
One day I'll get into vinyls and it'll just be another box
I
for
don't
other
want to talk
stuff.
about.
This is the comic book stream.
That's right. Another book that is coming out tomorrow. I just want to briefly mention The Sacrificers. I've been talking about this book every month that it's come out, and I guess that's just the Rick Remender effect on me, because this is one of those books that I haven't given like a glowing recommendation for, but I like Rick Remender as a
I was
writer.
gonna ask, do you like Rick Remender?
I do. I have like a weird thing with Rick Remender where I like him a lot as a writer, but I don't like, at this point, maybe even I don't like a lot of the stuff he's done. He just has a few series that I really like.
Have you been reading his book with Andy Samberg?
I had Holy Roller. We talked about the first issue when it came out. I did not read the second one.
Not good.
Dan says boo, not good.
You didn't like it?
I don't know if I took that hard of
didn't-
a stance.
But
But
I didn't check it out. I wanted to though. I'm a big Lonely Island guy.
Yeah, see, and that's fair. I felt kind of just like I didn't have a lot to say about it.
Mhm.
It wasn't that funny, first of all. Like, and so in a weird way, I thought it was. I couldn't tell if it was trying to be funny by how seriously it was taking itself, or if it was just taking itself very seriously. But that's just my vague memory of reading it a month ago or so, 2 months ago. I haven't read the second issue, so I can't tell you like where it goes from there.
Well, that's where it picks up.
Maybe,
only read the second issue.
Oh, you. Well, there you go. That's good information to have. But yeah, I enjoy Sacrificers. I feel like it took a little too long to kind of get to something interesting happening,
Mhm.
but issues 5 and 6 have been pretty good.
Nice.
So I think I predicted that this would read really well as a trade paperback, and now I'm just like more certain of it because the first 4 issues felt like it was a lot of like setup to get somewhere, and then 5 and 6 it's like stuff. The plot's kind of moving forward now. Another book. Well, we already got it set up.
Oh, that's a wall of text.
Yeah. Did you post that, Dan? What is that?
No, that's Joyce Machinist.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a what do you call that?
But
A bot.
bot. Yeah. I figured that's what it was.
Get out of here.
Another book coming out, Bloodrick. I talked about issue 1.
I love that cover.
So the art in this is really, really good. That's what's kept me like interested in this book. It's a barbarian comic. I like barbarians. I like this story. It's like really simple, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it's just this barbarian kind of going like he's just trying to hunt for food, but he keeps having there's like a surreal aspect to it where you can't tell like is there like something else, like so you kind of see the transition.
Whoa.
So it like the art is really nice. Like it looks really good.
What is this guy? Else has this guy done? Do you know?
I've never seen anything by him before. This is Andrew
Kroenke?
Kroenke. I think this is one of his. He's been working in comics for a while. I think the first issue he had a little bit of like an autobio that he wrote in it where he came up with this idea like 10 years ago, and he's kind of been like tinkering with it between working on and off other projects, and he finally put out an issue one. I know.
No, I'm laughing at Dan's comment.
Yeah, go away, bot. But yeah, so this is a cool comic. He put out issue 1 by himself last year, and then somebody at Image saw it and was like, "Hey, we'll do a whole series for you."
Oh, nice.
And so yeah, it's good. Art again, our art looks really great, and it's like I said, there's like a surreal like weirdness to it where he's like kind of hallucinating, and there's like weird monsters. I don't want to spoil everything that's in it, but yeah, cool book if you like weird trippy barbarian stuff. All right, now let's get into the books I'm super excited to talk about. Yeah, Transformers #4.
Speaking of go away bot.
Speaking of go, yeah, Autobots roll out.
God, I love this book. God, I love Daniel
It's-
Warren Johnson.
I don't have enough nice things to say about this comic. It's just so good. All I could say is, why are you not reading this? Like, it's not you, Bramble.
I haven't read issue 3, but
Well,
God.
I don't want to spoil anything that happens in it, but it's just one of the things that's kind of fascinating to me about this comic is that it all takes place. This is issue 4, and it basically takes place so far. The story has gone over the course of like 2 days.
Yeah,
Like it's really just like really high on action, and
it's so kinetic.
kinetic is exactly the word. Yeah. And I like though that like the issues, like I don't know, Daniel Warren Johnson is such a perfect, like he's a master storyteller. He knows exactly when to slow the pacing down for like the like calm little moments. Like there's a really nice moment in this issue, which again I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but we do get to see one of my favorite Transformers show up.
I was very sad in the first
Is
issue.
that Bumblebee?
No, that's not Bumblebee.
What I was gonna say is Bumblebee is my favorite Transformer, and
Bumblebee?
he died in that first issue. Sorry, it came out like 4 months ago. if you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
read it.
yeah. It's your fault.
Yeah, coming.
Oh God, I was very sad. But to your effect of what you were saying about like when he knows to slow the pacing is these are giant robots.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think like one of the best moments I've read in a comic was in issue 2
Mhm.
at that opening moment when
Yes.
Optimus goes and sees Earth for the first time and is taking in its beauty, and then immediately accidentally kills a deer and realizes like how fragile life is and why it
Yes.
needs to be protected. It's so good and done purely like you could see it without the words in just the inks and then also the colors, like that shift. Everything is very blue and
Yeah,
green, and
yeah.
as soon as he steps on the deer, it goes to bright red.
Really like harsh red. Yeah.
Yeah, no, God, I love this book. God, I love this creator.
Yeah, it's so good. And Daniel Warren Johnson is definitely hitting it home. The whole like
More
the
than meets
good
the eye.
guys. Well, more than meets the eye, but specifically, so like Transformers, it's a pretty simple thing. It's good guys versus bad guys. But I think he's doing a good job of really like getting to the heart of the matter, like what makes the Autobots good and what makes the Decepticons bad. You know, other than that they're toys and one is the good guy and one is the bad guy. And he's doing a good job of showing it where they're like in this forever they're in this like forever war, and Optimus Prime in these 4 issues, like everything he's done has been trying to preserve life, and
Yeah.
like he feels like overwhelming guilt over accidentally killing the deer. Whereas, and then the Decepticons, Starscream, they have no respect for life. And in this issue,
It's violent.
it's violent. Like I really think
That-
it rides the line so perfectly. Where like as a kid, if I was reading this, I would be like I don't know.
I'd
if my,
be giddy.
I'd be like I don't know if this is gonna get taken away from me because I don't know if like my parents would let me read this. But it's not like as an adult I read it. I'm like, well, it's really not that crazy. But it's just enough that a kid would be like, whoa, you know.
That the ending of the first issue when Starscream pops the guy's head off, and then
Yeah.
again in issue 2 when that one pilot ejects right in front of him and claps him.
Flat. Yeah. This issue 4 has another big moment it's nothing quite like those what you're referring to, but it just underlines like how just evil the Decepticons are, because they just like they have no respect for life.
Love it.
And I really like that that's where Daniel Warren Johnson is going with this, because it is like if we can, I'm not paying attention to your delicious.
Cheers.
I do think that So like without. Oh my gosh!
I'm
Stop! You're doing it, Dan. You're doing it.
I'm so sorry that I'm not derailing you.
get
I
this
just
guy-
love these stupid books so much.
Get this guy out of the chat.
Talk about go away bot.
But I think like without getting too philosophical about it, like when you really break it down, like wars in the real world are fought for a variety of reasons. And I do appreciate that with Transformers, Daniel Warren Johnson is kind of going, as I said, like he's going like really deep with it, where it's like you're not, they don't like go into any like explanation of like the politics of Cybertron or like why they're all vying for power. It's really just like they're at war with each other. Optimus Prime is good because he cares about the sanctity of life, and the Decepticons do not. And I kind of appreciate just how like simple that is, of just like good and evil.
I think that's something that like a lot of Cape comics, really any media could learn
Mhm.
from, is like, and really implement. And something I really like of something that is very like simple, of like good is good, is bad, and bad is bad.
Yeah.
And then go doing more with that.
Yeah, like that's your starting point, and you can do stuff with it from there. And yeah, this series has been so good for that reason. I think that's one of them. And then also Daniel Warren Johnson's art is just great. Like these fight scenes are just like so incredibly they're just depicted so perfectly.
There was I saw today Felix Comic Art posted like a picture of like a huge spread. I don't know if it's from this issue or issue 3 of Optimus. And sorry for spoilers. Of this
I'm ignoring that question, Dan.
He like rips his arm off.
Yes, that's in issue 3.
Oh,
we talked about
so
it. It's
good.
so good. That was like I was like a kid reading a comic book when I got to that scene, because like it's just so epic. Like Optimus Prime just
I
rips his
hate
arm
you,
off.
Dan.
Oh man, it's, you know, all I can say is it's not, Void Rivals is not as exciting as Transformers or Duke. G.I.
like
Joe.
Duke?
I loved Duke. Watch the episode from last week.
All right,
You'll
I've
hear
seen
me.
every episode twice.
That's right. Yeah, you remember.
No, before we move on to deep cuts,
Yes.
and everything, I think like just one little bit is how much I love that like they haven't really touched on Megatron.
Oh, yeah,
But
you're right. I wanted
he's
to
a
say that.
big
So
presence.
they keep teasing him, and it's like, oh man, so you don't even know. You haven't even read issue 4 yet.
I have
Issue 4 is like, because like it's been, like you said, its presence has been there, where like in issue 2 or 3's Soundwave is talking with Starscream, and he like he mentions the name Megatron, and Starscream like smacks him, and he's like, never say that name.
I remember like it was even in issue 1, he was like, Megatron isn't here, I'm in charge.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the leader of the Decepticons. And I really love how they are like, Daniel Warren Johnson is like perfectly building up to this. Like, you know, Megatron's going to show up at some point, and it's going to be a game changer. And issue 4 kind of has, it doesn't have that moment, but it has like the moment that's leading up to
Nice.
that, where there's this, it's so perfectly paced. Like, it's just sprinkled in, like each issue, it's just building and building and building. And when we get to the issue where Megatron finally shows up, I'm probably going to lose my mind on this stream. And
Pick up Transformers,
yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
books and games.
All right, another book. I have been somehow Megatron has returned. Exactly. Well, it'll never be as clever as that.
Oh, you're a funny
obviously.
buddy, Susie. I'll keep you around.
So this book has been so delayed. It came out. It was supposed to come out many months ago. We've talked about the first 3 issues. This is issue 4. Fine, I think it's like 6 months late. But this is one of my favorite books coming out today. Bram, I don't remember if we've even talked about this comic.
We
before.
haven't, because I've been out of the country.
Yeah, that's right. You've been exiled in Canada. But this is, so Deep Cuts. It's written by Kyle Higgins, who exactly, yeah. You say because you recognize his name. I picked this book up on a whim because it's about jazz musicians, and I like jazz and I like musicians.
Yeah, because you're old.
Exactly, because I'm old.
Wow.
Dan's old and he doesn't like jazz.
Oh, wow. I'm not smart enough for jazz.
That's true. But
Improv, the music.
I found out today as I was stocking shelves that Kyle Higgins writes the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic book that's out right now.
I don't. Is he still writing? I thought he.
Oh well, he wrote Volume 1 whenever that came out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think he had like a stint on Power Rangers, because now he's Mr. Radiant Black and Mr.
Yes, yeah, that's That's his thing. Yeah,
I know
but,
him as Mr. New 52 Nightwing.
so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody tells me I need to read Radiant Black and that whole series. We had a whole thing about it like 2 weeks ago, actually, and I need to check it out. I really love Deep Cuts. This book, if you're not familiar with it, it's an anthology series. Each issue, it's like an oversized issue, and each issue is just a little character piece about a jazz musician at a different point in history.
Oh,
So
nice.
exactly, it's really good. This issue that takes place in a story over several years, but it's mostly focused in 1956, and it's called Blue
Oh,
Notes, Deep Cuts.
Ramon Perez is on this. I
Yeah.
love Ramon Perez.
Yeah. It's really great looking. Like, this book is so good. I think there's different artists that do different issues, but I would have to go back and look at the previous issues to be sure, but I think that was the case. It's been a while since issue 3 came out. This whole issue, they're all kind of
Laughing at
done
your
in.
comments.
They're all kind of done in different. Dan.
Take off my jacket. It's hot in here. It's because of Dan. That's why it's hot in
Dan.
here.
It's all that
All that
comic
giggling.
book talk that's sensual.
Blowing a lot of hot air.
Yep.
But this issue is kind of done in the style of a documentary. So it's like somebody, not a documentary, I'm sorry, an interview. So there's like an interview that runs the narrative throughout the whole issue, and then you see the events that are happening as the people are talking about them. And it's just really good. Like, I love these types of character focused stories. Like, this takes place in the 50s, so it's about the jazz of the time period. Like, different issues, like one took place in like Dixieland in like the 30s, like South. So it's kind of about like Louisiana, like big jazz. And another one took place on like Broadway. It's like a woman trying to write a musical. And it's all in different times, but it mostly takes place in the early 20th century, like kind of the peak jazz period.
La La Land.
So this one, exactly, La La Land.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, we love Ryan Gosling.
I am Ryan Gosling.
Yes, he's literally me. No, he's literally me. He's literally Dan.
me.
But this issue is kind of about it's about like the tragedy of a lot of jazz musicians, of like chemical addiction and racism of the time, and just poverty mixed with that drive to create something. You know what? I'll wear my Knuff shirt maybe next week to prove that I am Knuff. But anyway, yeah, I really love Deep Cuts. I recommend it to everybody that comes in. Like, I know a lot of people, like a lot of comic books kind of have that, not a stigma, but like a lot of it is like genre focused. Like, superheroes obviously are like the big one, but even like horror and sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of potential for comics to just have like good character work and good drama. And the one in the break room is mine. Don't touch it. But it's a good book. I really love it. I can't recommend it enough.
Now we're getting to the Patrick.
Now we're getting to okay. All right, we got
Superman.
Yeah. Okay, so Action Comics number 1061. This is kind of a big deal. This is Jason Aaron's the beginning of his run on Action Comics. Him writing Superman. I don't know if you're aware of this, Patrick, but I was a little shocked to learn that Jason Aaron, this is the first time he's written Superman.
Yeah, that surprised me as well when they announced it.
Yeah, and Batman Off-World, that I've talked about on the stream, is his first time writing Batman. And it was especially surprising because, like, when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess he never has written those characters. But he kind of broke into the industry. Like, his big critical breakthrough was his Vertigo book, Scalped, which I actually might go so far to say is the last truly great Vertigo book. Certainly the last like great long running Vertigo book. I think I would have to check my timeline, but so that's which
this guy has a timeline.
Vertigo is owned by DC,
yes.
So like he would have had all the connections at DC, and that book was like really critically lauded. But I guess like Marvel must have just like made him an offer he couldn't refuse because he went over to Marvel and was
Thor, right?
Yeah, he did Thor and Avengers and just he's been doing Marvel for like the last 10, 15, 20 years maybe. I don't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did he have a run on Hulk?
Probably. I've not really followed that period of Marvel. Jason Aaron's a great writer, but I just wasn't reading Marvel
Yeah.
books at the time. But I'm very excited to read this. The other reason I'm excited to read, not just because he's a good writer, I think he's a smart guy, and it's the first time he's writing Superman, but also this story features probably my favorite Superman character, which is Bizarro
Jimmy Olsen.
Superman. You know what? I actually do love
I
Jimmy
love
Olsen
Jimmy
too.
Olsen. He's one of my favorite characters.
Jimmy Olsen is great. But my favorite, maybe not, villain isn't necessarily correct, but antagonist, my favorite Superman antagonist is Bizarro Superman.
I think
And
Bizarro is a great.
He's
character.
so good. And I'm going to flex a little bit on my Bizarro fandom. Dan, give me a shot of the comic book here. If you're not too busy derailing this. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you could just do that.
You just do that.
Dang it. so
Practically Dan.
so this
now.
comic
You
has
don't gotta do anything.
this, dude, what are you even here for?
All you got to
man?
do is just type in the chat.
So this comic is about Bizarro, and I'm not kidding when I say Bizarro is one of my favorite characters. I have actually written and drawn my own Bizarro fan comic. It doesn't look nearly as good as the artist on Action
John
Comics.
Timms, a very
John-
nice man.
Thank you. Oh yeah, do you
I
have a
have-
John Timms story?
Back in oh my god, that was going on 2 years ago now. Back in 2022, I went to C2E2
Mhm.
and I got to meet John Timms. Very nice, very lovely man. He signed my copy of Superman Son of Kal-El and drew not one but two John Kent Supermens in it.
Oh,
Very nice guy, and I'm really excited to see more stuff he does for DC. I was really excited to see he's doing another Superman book.
yeah.
Here you talk about your Bizarro.
Well, I don't have a lot to. I don't have a lot to talk about my Bizarro comic. It's just a silly comic where Bizarro meets the Hulk, and
This is just Aaron comparing himself to Jason Aaron.
I'm basically we both have Aaron in our name, and we've both written Bizarro, one officially, one unofficially, but that doesn't really matter. So we're basically the same. Is
Basically.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say essentially.
essentially, yeah. But we don't. I'm not actually here to
Aaron is
talk
a bad
about.
guy who loves the Star Wars movies.
Wow, you know what? You just described like 53% of the customers that come into the store.
I really think the Action Comics All Stars idea is a really good idea.
I think it's smart.
Just rolling through top tier talent, telling a Superman story,
Mhm.
my favorite fictional character, arguably the most iconic fictional character of all time.
Easily the most iconic.
And
Currently.
currently,
Superman?
Yeah.
I'd
Have
say.
you ever heard of Superman?
Is he new? Is he a new character?
He's
They just came out with Superman?
yeah, I think so.
he's so new. He's going to be in the public domain in like 10 years.
2031, baby.
Yeah.
Look out for Patrick Bramble's Superman.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen.
I know. I think it's a really good idea. I'm excited for it. I can't remember who the next arc, who's doing the next arc,
Yeah, I forgot already.
but I know the third arc is being written by Superman writer Joshua Williamson,
hmm
which will be tying into his mainline Superman book.
Yeah.
Which so I'm very interested to see how
I've
that
been talking
goes.
about the Superman book every month that it comes out, and it's funny that you mentioned like what a good idea it is for them to do this, because I think when they relaunched the Dawn of DC, all their books, I did read the first issue of Action Comics under that, and
Mhm.
I wasn't that interested in it. It had it was when they were doing like 2 or 3 different stories
Yeah.
in it, and I just I feel like it didn't have a reason to exist, because like Superman was really good, and I just want to read the Superman book. But I do think that this is a good idea. Like Action Comics, it's the title alone. It's a prestigious book. Like it's one of the longest running publications in comic books for sure. And so I do think that they should kind of like prop it up on a pedestal a little bit of like, this should be the book that has the top talent telling the best stories in the entire industry.
I think some of the I love Superman, and I think some of the appeal of Superman is everything is so, like what you said, it's very simple. But
Mhm.
because of that, his character and story engine is so versatile.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think bringing in new talent, both like top tier, but also maybe like up and comers for the book, is a really good idea to show off both like the creative chops of these people,
Mhm.
but also what Superman and his world is capable of.
Yeah, and the versatility of
Yeah.
the character. I also do really like that this newer era of Superman is kind of embracing some of the more Silver Age aspects of
Yes!
Superman, and I feel like that's something that's been lost for a long time. I mean, just the fact that like Bizarro, it's not strictly the the Silver Age version of Bizarro, but it's pretty close to it. Like they talk about Bizarro World. They talk about how like weird Bizarro is. I don't actually know every time that Bizarro's shown up in the current continuity because I can't keep track of, like, DC's constantly
I don't. I
like
think maybe the
rebooting.
last time he was in it was, I think, the Red Hood book.
Okay,
maybe?
yeah, and
I
I
don't know
wouldn't
for
I
sure.
wouldn't have read that. But you know, I like that you can just jump into this and just like, if you have a vague understanding of what Bizarro is, who
Mhm.
he's an imperfect copy of Superman, and he does everything the opposite of Superman. That's really all you need to know.
And it works great with Superman being someone who already sees himself as imperfect and trying to fit in and do the most.
Yeah, yeah. And there's I really do love Bizarro. You can do so
No,
much
he's
with
great.
the character, and this is actually setting up to be kind of a big Bizarro story. It's I won't spoil the twist at the end, but I got pretty excited because like I said, it has to do with Bizarro World, which, if you don't know what Bizarro World is, it's
You suck.
yeah, that's right. Bizarro World is a giant cube version of Earth that's populated by nothing but Bizarros, and most of them are Bizarro Superman themselves. Like, it's all Bizarro Supermans, and then a Bizarro Lois and a Bizarro Jimmy, like basically a Bizarro version of Superman's cast. It's so great. It's so funny.
I think last year, the year before, Daniel Warren Johnson did like a Bizarro commission.
Oh, but
When
that's
this
great.
when
yeah.
the stream is over, I'll show it to you because it's incredible.
I want to see that.
It's so good.
But anyway, so I'm very excited about Action Comics. I'm very excited about Bizarro. We'll probably be talking about this book every month that it comes out, along with Superman. And like I've said this before, but DC's kind of in a Superman renaissance right now.
Good.
Like, they're putting out some of the best Superman books, between World's Finest and Superman and
Last Days of Lex
Last Days of
Luthor,
Lex
whenever issue
Luthor.
2 comes out.
Space Age came out last
I need to
year.
finish it.
Oh, you got to finish it.
I'm
It's
on
really
the last
good.
issue.
It's really, really good. All right, so now
This is the big book.
the big book.
There's a big book.
The monumental book that we're going to talk about every week.
Patrick's birthday present from Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, so every week I have a coworker pick out a book to talk about on the stream, and since I knew you were going to be here, I figured this one would be the one you would want to talk about the most, so I wasn't going to bother asking anybody else. You count as a coworker, and so we're going to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man #1 by Jonathan Hickman and the artist
Marco Cicchetto.
Thank you.
A very nice and very charming man.
I couldn't remember how to pronounce his name, but so do you have a Marco Cicchetto story?
I met him at San Diego this year, and
Nice.
he signed a lot of my Daredevil books, and he was just an all-around great guy. Yeah,
I'm
no.
very, very glad to hear that.
No, I was really happy because I got to meet Chip earlier. So I
Mhm.
have a lot of dual signatures from Chip and Marco.
Very cool. So there's like a lot to talk about with this comic. I don't even know where to begin. So
First of all, did you like it?
so that's where I was going to start.
Oh God.
I'm still processing how I feel about this comic. I will say I thought it was fine. And that's not a ringing endorsement
Wow,
from me.
you said it was fine.
I'm just
Aaron thinks a lot of things are fine.
I'm
Just fine.
I'm still processing how I feel about it. I am not the world's biggest Jonathan Hickman fan, as I've talked about on this stream. But I do think that this issue as an issue.
Thank you, Serena. Now you know what Aaron's fine means.
I think it's better than the we talked about the Ultimate Universe books when those were coming out, and I really did not like those. But I do think that this is a lot better than that.
I liked Ultimate Universe.
I
I thought it was interesting.
it's
I definitely think the first issue was the best one.
Yeah, that's probably true. There's always so Hickman is an idea guy. I think he has like great ideas for stories, but then like it just doesn't, like, all of it put together into a story just doesn't work for me. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, and I don't want to like go off on like a huge tangent about.
We'll talk later.
I know, yeah, we're running out of time here. So I just want to note, I think it's kind of interesting how this version of Peter Parker, who is like a middle-aged dad, he's married to MJ, he's got kids. This is the version of Peter Parker that I feel like a lot of old school fans have been wanting for a very, very, very long time.
I know I have.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's kind of almost ironic, funny that Marvel is starting the new Ultimate Universe, and like the classic version of Peter Parker is now the Ultimate Spider-Man. And in the regular Spider-Man series, I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Morales kind of became the regular Spider-Man in the regular universe.
They gotta bench Peter.
I think that's what they're gonna do. and I think it's going to be a weird twist where like Miles Morales started out as the Ultimate Spider-Man,
Mhm.
Peter Parker's the regular Spider-Man, and now it's going to flip flop where Peter Parker's the Ultimate Spider-Man and Miles is the.
I'm just
regular
looking at this book. I
Spider-Man.
haven't seen it yet, so
Oh, you haven't-
I haven't flipped through it. I
You
haven't seen
even
it.
read it?
I haven't read
Oh
it.
man, I'm sorry. I thought.
No, I
well,
haven't
then-
been able to read it yet.
Okay,
Wow.
so I won't. I'm not going to spoil
Here,
too much. I'm not going to talk about the writing. I think.
No, please talk about it. I will probably have like just like my immediate reaction still.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always like a boy reading. No, I think it's a really smart idea, especially for these new Ultimate books, to
Mhm.
both distance themselves from main Marvel, but also the previous Ultimate books, and having
Mhm.
Peter start out as like, does he start out as Spider-Man in middle age, or has he been Spider-Man since he's 15? Please tell me.
He's not even Spider-Man in this
Okay,
issue.
okay, cool. That is great because I think it's.
Then why is it called Spider-Man?
Well, that's so. Dan,
I
that's actually kind of my complaint. I think it takes too long to do like the setup intro, which is for an oversized comic. I think it's a little too self-indulgent in like playing up the drama of this new Ultimate Universe, and could have kind of like gotten through some of that to get to some Spider-Man stuff. There's like I don't want to sound like a dummy, but there's like not a lot of action in it. It's kind of talking heads throughout the whole story.
We'll see. I'll probably love it. I'll probably love it.
Well, you know, our good friend Erin
Yes.
Stacy, who works at Heroic Adventures in Edwardsville, she
By
read
Ultimate
it.
Spider-Man: A Heroic Adventure.
You should buy it from her because she loved it, so you can talk to her about it. 'Cause
No, I think it's a great idea to really start Peter out in middle-aged with a family
on that we agree. I love the idea of Dad Spider-Man.
because it changes the responsibility.
Correct. Yeah. There's some other twists in this, like because it's a new universe, you know,
Mhm.
so nothing's exactly the same as what any of it was. But I do feel like some of it starts to feel like it's a little navel gazing, where it's like you introduce something just to show that it's different,
Mhm.
and then you introduce something else just to show that it's different. And I feel like the story just kind of moves a little too slowly to get where it wants to go. But you know, that's just me. I do all of that stuff I just said. That's still like, despite me not really liking it, I do think that's still in keeping with the tone of the Ultimate Universe books. So I'm not really knocking it in.
I mean,
terms of,
Bendis
like,
took 6 issues to put him in.
Hey, you know what? I'm not the world's biggest Bendis fan over here either. So, but
Bendis
you're
is fine,
right.
apparently.
Well, you know what? He took 6 issues, but they were all 22 pages. All right. Well, then I don't want to say too much else about it if you haven't read it.
Go off. I'll flip through it
No,
right
it
now.
looks great. I love. Okay, give me a click here. Also, Dan, you're not plugged in, so your battery's getting low.
It's not plugged in.
That's what it said.
What?
But I loved J. Jonah Jameson in this comic. I love that he was in it. I love that he's like classic J, and there's a lot of stuff to like in this. It's cool.
I'm just so excited.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in it too. Like if you're a fan of Dan figured it out. I think he figured it out.
Yeah.
Good job, Dan.
Yeah.
You know, as like if you're a big Marvel Universe fan, there are a lot of Easter eggs in it.
Mhm.
So I think you know, I think people are gonna really like it. I do. We'll see.
Aaron is the exception, not the rule.
That's correct. I am. I'll totally own up to
I'm
that.
gonna flip through this.
You go through it. All right.
Do
So-
I have to?
Oh, you can do it on stream if you want. I mean, I
Okay,
don't want you to spoil yourself on anything.
Oh, I'll just look at the pretty
That's
pictures.
Violet.
Oh my God, is that Spider-Man?
Oh my God.
Spider-Man's in the book.
Spider-Man's in
Actually,
the.
apparently he's not. Is what I've just
Well,
heard.
you haven't looked at the last page of the book.
That's right.
So
Uh,
one.
I'm very excited for this
Just
book.
so I can't read.
Well, there are pictures.
All right.
What are you blind to?
Well, you think you got those glasses?
Oh, my bad.
All right, guys, that's it for today. We're done. Patrick's got to bounce and go to his birthday meal.
Yippee!
So thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to me gripe about comics and make a jerk of myself live on the internet. I do
This
it.
guy didn't even know it was a facsimile.
I know. I do it quite often. That's how you know you can't trust my opinions on this Spider-Man book. It's like, you know, I
He
grabbed
thought
that
it was
book.
the first time that Batman Beyond book was coming out twice.
I wasn't even going to talk about it on stream. I was just desperate for like filler material, and I was like, we'll just grab that and talk about it. I didn't prepare at all with that. That was the first time I flipped through it.
That's hilarious.
You know, hey, we're doing it live. That's the kind of stuff you get.
Doing it
when you do it
live.
live. All right, everybody. Yeah, you know, Dan, what's your normal sign-off? Lots of great comics.
There's a lot of great comics. If you don't buy them at Fantasy Books and Games, which you should, buy them somewhere. You're going to find something that you like. something for everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Buy Ultimate Spider-Man at Fantasy Books and Games.
Hey,